Since the beginning of 2026, everyone has been talking about and hearing about that island, Greenland. It's not even green anyway, it's quite white. Recently, Trump claimed that 8 European countries were going to Greenland for unknown purposes. These countries are Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland. He threatened to impose a 10% tariff on these European countries from February and to increase the tariff rate to 25% after June. And he said, "This is a very dangerous situation for the security, safety, and survival of our planet. These countries playing this very dangerous game have created unacceptable level of risk. He is evaluating this in terms of the security and survival of our planet. Trump is taking the Greenland issue more seriously than ever. So, why is Greenland so important? Let's find out. First and foremost, Trump sees it as a tool to explain that he is defending America's interests, a strong leader image. But of course, it's not that simple. I can explain it with three main reasons. Firstly, it has very rich oil, natural gas, and rare earth elements. Currently, China alone extracts a large portion of the world's rare earth elements and carries out almost all of the refining process. If we look at the reserve quantities, China has a very high stock. Compared to total amount in the world, this is quite large, and America's reserves are quite limited. As you can see, China has a clear monopoly in this area, and these rare earth elements are indispensable for the production of today's technologies. This ties America's hands against China. Whenever Trump talks about a trade war, China retaliates by threatening to stop exporting rare earth elements. This is where the reserves in Greenland come to the forefront. There are significant amounts of rare earth elements in Greenland. The exact amount is unknown, as experts estimate that there are more than what has been discovered so far. The second reason is the melting of glaciers due to global warming and the opening of new sea trade routes in the north. As glaciers melt in the Arctic due to global warming, sea routes between Asia and Europe are shortening. This provides the US with cheaper and faster trade, the opportunity to establish new logistics centers, and the power to control maritime traffic. At the same time, it weakens China's advantage in southern sea routes and gives the US navy opportunity to encircle Russia and China from the north. And as you guessed, Greenland is at the very heart of this new trade order. The third reason is that the Arctic region has become an arena of competition between major powers in military and economic terms. This is exactly why Trump insists that if the US doesn't come to the region, Russia and China will. Greenland sits on the most critical Arctic corridor between North America and Europe. This geography is a unique location for ballistic missile early warning, radar space surveillance, and air defense. And additional information, the US already uses the Pacific base here. This region is already critical for US security. So can it get Greenland? To answer that, we need to take a brief look at Greenland's history. Greenland has a long story. Its indigenous people are the Inuit. The event Trump referred to as Greenland doesn't belong to them just because they went there in a boat, actually happened in 1721. Norway and the Danish kingdom discovered Greenland and colonized it. During the World War I in 1940, the Nazis invaded Denmark. Following this, America sent troops to Greenland. This is very important because before the Americans, the people of Greenland had seen nothing about the outside world. They had no rights. Even traveling to Denmark was forbidden. Anyway, the war ends, but American soldiers still remain in Greenland. In fact, the US even made an offer to Denmark to buy Greenland while they were there, but it was rejected. In the post war system, Denmark made Greenland a province, and all of Greenland was considered Danish citizenship. In 1979, they held a referendum and began to govern their own internal affairs. They established their own parliament and elected their own president. And today, the people of Greenland are defined not as Danish, but as a separate nation. However, they are still dependent on Denmark in foreign affairs. Of course, since the country doesn't have a fully developed agriculture and industry, it's also economically dependent on Denmark. Denmark gives Greenland $600 million in grants every year. This amount corresponds to half of Greenland's state budget. Yet, according to a 2025 poll, 84% of Greenlanders want independence. However, I should mention this. When asked whether they would prefer to remain under the control of the United States or Denmark, 85% said Denmark, while only 9% said the United States. Greenlanders feel closer to Europe. Even if Greenland gains independence, its economy will collapse without Denmark. For this reason, the US wants to take on Denmark's role in Greenland. Because he thinks that if he doesn't do it himself, China will. I've previously mentioned how China indebts small countries, makes investments, and conquers them through economic means. So, can he acquire the island? Even if Greenland is not for sale, the possibility of the US acquiring it by offering more than $600 million is more logical than directly invading a NATO country. What do you think will happen in the coming period? And how will the future of this disputed island unfold?